Hey everybody, Chief Meteorologist Brad Pedovich here with an update on our winter storm. We had some changes in the past 24 hours, at least some trends in the data towards a little bit more ice, and I'll explain what that means. It's kind of interesting because it's the surface temperatures where we are aren't changing that much. It's what's just above our heads that's changing a little bit. Now, the good news is we can see the storm. We've got a pretty clear picture of where it is. You can see it over North Texas right now. It is producing snow, sleet, freezing rain, everything you see out there. Cold temperatures there, but I want to emphasize how cold it is here. We're still below freezing as I'm recording this at around 11 a.m. We dropped into the teens last night, single digits in a lot of areas for the second night in a row. You can actually see on the satellite imagery, this is kind of cool. These aren't clouds, that's snow cover to the north from that previous snowstorm. And you can see how cold it is. That's why the air mass is so cold. It's got refrigerated ground. It's helping to keep the air over the eastern half of the country frigid. So the cold air is a big part of this. It's been cold all week. It'll be cold tonight, cold tomorrow. Cold air at the ground is not going to be the problem with the system as far as big amounts of snow or ice. The problems with it are warm air aloft, the speed, and how much moisture it has. So for once in this system, I can say we're not lacking cold air per se. It's more the warm air in the mid-levels and the lack of moisture that's really affecting what type of winter storm this is going to be. And I'll quickly show you all the advisories because there are a ton of them. I'm going to turn off the satellite imagery and we'll turn off the surface map, but you're going to see there are winter storm warnings from North Texas all the way into Tennessee. And you can see the swath of in blue, that's winter storm watches. So look at that. That gives you a good idea on the swath of impacts we're going to see here across the Carolinas. And again, it's just not snow. I cannot emphasize that enough. It is just not snow. And why is that? Well, you got to look at things like this. So this is the atmosphere. Down at the ground, people think it's super easy. It's 32 degrees. It should be all snow. Well, it will be if it's all 32 degrees above our head. But what happens sometimes is the ground, it's 32, but we have a thing called a warm nose aloft. Now, if it's a very shallow warm nose, like you see here, a very shallow layer of warm air, what happens is the snow falls into that warm layer. It briefly melts or kind of partially melts and then falls into this cold layer and refreezes into a sleet pellet. And you get basically little ice pellets that hit the ground. Sleet is hard. It bounces around. It's actually frozen water already reaching the ground. Now, in some cases, that warm layer can get super thick, which causes the snowflakes to become water, liquid water, rain, right? Just like we normally have. But there's still cold air very close to the ground. We're talking really shallow. Maybe down at street level in uptown, it's at freezing, but the top of the buildings, it's not. That's what I'm talking about. So what happens is this falls as liquid and it hits the ground as liquid, but then freezes on the surface. So think of this as like glaze at Krispy Kreme, where the fountain, right, it comes out as a liquid and then glazes over everything. Or think about today, this morning, it's below freezing, taking your hose outside and spraying. It's coming out water, but once it hits the ground, it's freezing. That's freezing rain. And that's why we get big time issues with ice around here. Another way to look at this is kind of a chart like this. If you got really warm air, you've got rain, you've got shallow air, it's freezing rain, you have this, it's sleet. So what happened is, well, in the last 24 hours, we were thinking we'd be somewhere in here mostly. Now it looks like we might be kind of more into this area. So a little bit more of a freezing rain sleet, but sleet is still going to be a big part of this. I can tell you with some pretty good confidence that we're going to see a lot of sleet and it's going to start as snow. So let me pause this here. I'm going to back this up here. So it's going to start as snow Friday afternoon. Again, I jokingly made that comment about time. Don't expect to wake up to snow tomorrow morning. It's not coming in tonight or even tomorrow morning. It's coming in the afternoon. So don't wake up tomorrow and be one of those people, where's the snow? I thought they said it was going to snow. Yeah, Friday afternoon and evening, not Thursday night and Friday morning. Okay. For whatever reason, people think like storms here should happen while you sleep and wake up to a winter wonderland. That's not the way it works. But you can see the snow falling Friday afternoon. So the evening commute is really rough, right? Can't emphasize enough how rough. Look at the temperatures, right? It's 29, 28. Okay, we go through the evening. Look at some of the pink showing up. This is where the ice starts coming into play. And again, this has been a change. If you remember yesterday, I showed you this. This ice was staying probably 2 counties further south. Now it's creeping up into the Charlotte area. Now, if you're up here, likely going to stay primarily snow or sleet, but I wouldn't rule out some of that ice getting up there. After midnight, it looks like this starts to move out. So this is why it's a quick hitter. Starts maybe, there's a 12-hour window, 3 o'clock Friday afternoon to 3 a.m. Saturday morning. That's it. That's our system. So, hey, if you could stay put for 12 hours and maybe even through Saturday morning, but notice Saturday morning, it's below freezing, right? Everything's iced up. When's it going to get above freezing? About 11 a.m. So that's what I would expect it to warm back up. So let's get to the totals. Bad news first, ice. Ice has gone up. You notice these totals. We had a glaze a tenth of an inch. Now I'm starting to bring in a 10 to 1500s. And down here, could approach that quarter inch. This is the area. If we're going to see a power issue, it's going to be a very narrow band down here. But even that is just on the borderline. It does not look to be a huge power line issue, but can't rule it out with a quarter inch of ice. That's the threshold. You see a quarter inch of ice or more, you're going to have problems. Snowfall totals. This is an updated map. I've cut the totals down because now we're mixing in sleet and more ice. That reduces our snow total. There's only so much moisture. It's like going to the candy store and only having $100 and you decide to use $30 to go buy a soda or a drink, and now you're left with limited amount of money to buy candy, right? So in this case, Mother Nature's given us a limited amount of moisture, and if we use it up on ice, then that gives us less to spend or use on snow, okay? So that's what's happening here. We're actually getting less snow. So I'm still going to be generally a trace to an inch. I mean, everybody in Charlotte's going to see measurable. But again, I will emphasize this till I'm blue in the face. Do not expect a winter wonderland. Do not expect a winter wonderland. Expect a trace to an inch of snow. It's not going to look pretty, right? It's going to look ugly, and the roads are going to be ugly. So that will give you a really good idea on what to expect. So the timing, yeah, 3 o'clock, again, Friday afternoon, things start to go downhill. The overnight hours and really the evening hours, Friday, look to be the worst of this. So I'll say this again. I think if it was me and I didn't have to go to work, I know some of you do. And if you do have to go to work, bless you. And this is why everyone else needs to stay home so you can stay out of those people's way. And also, if they're working and they're in the service industry, tip them well, please. Okay. So this timing, I updated this. I got it at 2 o'clock, but 2 to 3 o'clock starts as snow, 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 snow. Sleet and ice starts to mix in probably maybe as early as 9 p.m., but I'm thinking right in here, it's going to mix, and it should all be done by the time you wake up on Saturday morning, except for the mountains, because we got northwest flow, which could keep the snow going into the afternoon hours. There's our winter storm watch, as I mentioned, the whole area under that. This will be upgraded to an advisory or warning, and just remember, a advisory is an upgrade, okay? The watch is issued first. That means ingredients for winter weather. If the ingredients meet smaller amounts, then we go to a winter weather advisory. If it meets more amounts and a mix, we go to a winter storm. And by the way, winter storm warning criteria for just snow is 3 inches for Charlotte, but you can get a winter storm warning if it's a combination of snow, sleet, and ice that causes big impacts. So we could still see a winter storm warning and not get 3 inches of snow because it could be a tenth of an inch of ice, a half an inch of sleet, and a half an inch of snow. And that would basically tally up to 3-inch liquid equivalent, right? 3/10 of an inch of liquid, it would be basically winter storm criteria. So that's the latest. I will post updates today. I'm actually taking today off of the TV role, but I will post updates regardless so that I can come in tomorrow and work a long day with this storm. Stay safe, stay warm. Don't freak out. Don't buy all the bread and milk. This is not, I mean, just if you can ride out one night at home on a Friday night without leaving, you're going to be fine. I mean, you're not being snowed in for the entire weekend or a day or 2 days. It's literally just being in on a Friday night. So if you can handle that, you're going to be fine.